So how is health a double trouble theme for the president? This is something that I've often told people when they say to me that astrology is just too complicated. There are too many planets, too many signs, angles, aspects, etc. In reality, there aren't enough. If you study astrology, you start to notice that there are so many topics, themes, areas, nuanced divisions in life that you need more and more categories. And as it turns out, astrology deals with this because it works. It's totally true that topics that often appear related, but not always, will appear in the same sign, same house. Like, for example, if you look at the fifth house, house of children, is also the house of creativity, the house of manifesting anything literally, but it's also a house of love affairs. It's a house of games and sports. It's a house of investment speculation. It has multiple meanings. Sometimes it'll make total sense. Others, you have to study long enough to see the reason why. But in any case, quite often you will see these double layered, triple layered even. And yes, in this case here, I'm talking about a double situation when it comes to this guy. And to best explain it, I turn to the example I often use, which is what Obama experienced in 2009, when in his own chart you could clearly see intense health challenges. But he was at an age where that was unlikely to happen. I mean, it can happen in your 40s, but that's more likely to be a problem with such aspects the older you are. And so it was transferred upward, so to speak, into working on the health of the country, which was very intense, very difficult for him. He did accomplish his task eventually, but I would say it was probably what killed his presidency in regard to efficacy, because he lost the House, then he lost the Senate. It just became very difficult for him. So there you see a different level than the obvious, his health, in quotes, level. So now we turn to the case of Trump, and we see that, first of all, this topic, writ large, just isn't a good topic for him. And the reason is that his health houses are Capricorn and Cancer, 6 and 12. Capricorn, no planets, it's empty, 12. Mercury, Saturn and Venus. As soon as you see Saturn placed in a house, that planet is going to hold you to patterns of responsibility and to duty, and it's going to make it difficult for you if you try to skirt those values, which of course he tries at every turn, because he's like a juvenile delinquent, constantly doing irresponsible things, and he could care less if people don't have health care. That's not his problem. So he tries and he tries and he tries. You remember that he tried to do this in the first term, and he failed. He tried in 2017. At the time, John McCain saved Obamacare. But then notice that in 2020, the health theme resurfaced again, now outside him through the pandemic, and it became the biggest liability for him. Had that not happened, he would have gone into that election cycle a lot stronger. But people saw the way he governed, and I think in large measure is what cost him that election. He also caught COVID himself, but in a sense, that was the least of it. It was much more of a problem that the COVID ruined his supposed amazing economy, which was really the economy he inherited from Obama and all of that. But the point being, the topic isn't good for him. And then we fast forward, and here we are again, dealing with the same topic. Once again, Obamacare is in the foreground. However, now he's also dealing with his own health. You've heard me talk ad nauseum about the various difficult angles he is sorting through. And the problem he has is that there are so many happening simultaneously right now you've got Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto being an irritant, Eris for sure, all of them piling on in a health pattern. But Saturn probably is the worst because it lives in his most intense health house, the 12th, the place of hospitals. It's where you go to get the deep repairs. And so problem he has is he's in it, it's very intense now, and it doesn't get better later because that Saturn, every time it transits almost anything, it brings in health, but especially if it hits into those 12th house planets, one of which is the Saturn itself, lives there. It's going to be doing that in 26, 27, into early 28, right? So top level, very bad. But now look once again what is happening to this guy through the theme of health. What is the shutdown of the government about? It's about healthcare. The Democrats are refusing to agree to fund the government unless Republicans agree to fund Obamacare enough that premiums won't skyrocket, which I think is fair. It's a noble thing to do, obviously. And so even though Trump thought he had the upper hand, and he says he does, he says it's all the Democrats' fault and people will recognize this. No, they won't. People by 10 to 12 points disagree with him. And I think you're going to see it in tonight's voting as well, as a result. But this goes to show you that it's a very bad theme for him. Every time he gets involved in health quarrels of any type, he loses. It's the way his chart is set up, full stop. And this is why, in this case, he is going to be paying the price. And thankfully, people are far more likely than not to have some kind of health care going into next year and the year after, because the way the theme lines up for this guy is just never going to work out. The American chart, 612 is Venus, Mars, and at the moment we're in an awkward spot because Pluto from Aquarius does a 150 to the Venus, which is the ruler of the 6th. We have to wait till next year, maybe at the latest the year after, for that misaligned energy to finally move away. And there's the matter of Saturn transiting through cardinal signs immediately puts pressure on the Venus energy because the Venus energy is in Cancer. So already this summer, we could see it coming with the short entry of Saturn into Aries. Now we're going to have another pass next year. It'll square into that Venus-Jupiter, but especially the Venus. Thankfully, though, it's the early degrees. So once Saturn gets beyond those early degrees, there'll be far less pressure to deal with. And so odds are pretty good that this issue will stabilize enough that people will have some kind of health care, even though we all know that it needs to be improved. But it certainly does not need to be completely wiped out the way Trump is trying to do. So there you have it. More than one theme for sure. And without question, though, by far, the most dangerous thing to him is his own health. And that continues. It's very, very challenging from here to the late winter period. And then the Saturn picks up the energy and starts to square into the 12th house and continues the major risk to his health and well-being. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you.